lessons and experiences from my separation/divorce. The day has finally here, and I'm legally divorced. And I'd want to share my own personal experiences as well as lessons learned. Hopefully, this will give others reason to be hopeful and validated. Beginning with my marriage in 2006 to the mother, 36F, of my 3 children, ages 13, 10, and 5. I never imagined I'd be in the situation I'm in now. Obviously, we don't marry someone in order to end up in a divorce. Things began to shift in the fall of 2018, and particularly in December of 2018. She had just completed a boudoir session and had shared the images with a male neighbor who had recently divorced her. She was also getting up early, which was unusual for her since she was a night owl, to go to the gym and have coffee with him. She then informed me that she was rethinking her life choices, but she didn't go into more detail during our talk. We chose the month of December 2018 as the date of our separation. We, on the other hand, went about our business as usual. It was just the two of us, sharing the same bed, going about our daily lives. We discussed the possibility of selling our present house and renovating, as well as relocating to a new community. We were hoping it would help us get out of our rut. It didn't work, and we were forced to continue living on autopilot. Being in a state of limbo is the worst. In May of this year, she finally said that she no longer loved or adored me. My world came crashing down because I had placed so much importance on being a family guy, having a wife, and having children. My sense of self had vanished. At this point, I recognized that I had done an amazing job of loving her while she was in her duties as wife and mother, but that I had neglected to love her as a woman. More than ever before, suicidal ideas came into my mind. That got to the point where I was investigating dangerous medication combinations while waiting to pick up my groceries one day, and it was a terrible sign. Even though I was in the middle of reading, I saw an old lady and her cart go over, and I raced over to assist her while I watched other people just pass by. The realization that I had worth as a human being, rather than merely in my jobs, occurred to me at this point. I chose a few folks who I wanted to serve as captains of my brain, in order to prevent me from making rash judgments. It's because I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. I'd go through scenarios with them and discuss how I wanted to behave. They were invaluable in guiding me through some really tough times. I've also begun keeping a diary. It provided a safe haven for me to leave all of my emotions so that I could concentrate on being present with my children while still managing to function somewhat at work. I'm not sure whether I'll ever read those diary entries again, but I know they were beneficial. I discovered that the one who is departing is the one who gets to write the story. She continued, telling me that she felt obligated to marry me and that she had never felt any affection for me before. As a result, I concocted the story that my marriage and family were collateral damage from a midlife crisis. When we informed our children that their mother and father were divorcing, it seemed like a nightmare had become a reality. I was sobbing, and all of our children were crying, but she was not crying at all. To me, it was a clear indication of her greater comfort with the situation compared to me. When she had completely stuffed both closets and both sides of the drawers, I realized there was no way I could get her back. In her eyes, there was no longer any space for me in her life. Although it was difficult, I tried all I could to keep my family together. I took part in the 40-day love challenge. Are you sure you want to do this? I asked her as one of my checkpoints. I suffered in mediation because I didn't have children to see them half of the time since I wasn't working. I was quite strict, which I now was not good, but I didn't know how else to love my children if I wasn't physically there with them all of the time. As a result, I wanted to make the most of whatever time I had with them. The last few weeks of 2019 were a flurry. 4 weeks after I moved her out of the home, she was no longer a part of the family. We met with a mediator in order to draft a formal separation agreement that would be submitted to the courts. She moved out on her own and into her own apartment. In front of the kids, she presented them to her new beau. Her new partner had been a past high school fling, but I also found that she had been seeing him every summer since 2015, when she would bring the kids to our hometown for a summer vacation, something I had no knowledge about. Her decision to leave hurt a lot. Our mutual friends assisted her in moving out, and then purchased her housewarming presents to make up for the fact that she didn't have half of the things she needed. I did not get anything. I recall not having a whisk, a kitchen table, or window covers when I was younger. I was feeling quite alone and discouraged. For the first time in my life, I was living on my own. I had gone from living at home to getting married in a short period of time. I had no notion what to do with myself while I was alone. This was the point at which I began going to counseling, which proved to be good in terms of stabilizing my heart. It's surprising how much of a difference a fresh coat of paint can make. I was able to personalize my home and make it my own. I moved furniture and placed items where I wanted them to appear. The rubbish can went beneath the sink, and the recycling bin was tucked away in a closet, and my children noted that their mother did the exact same thing. My realization of how many unsaid things their mother and I shared was eye-opening. We either did something or left things as they were without saying anything. There are many inadvertent behaviors. The use of music was also quite useful. I discovered that listening to 3-5 songs of heartache, or even simply rage, and then listening to constructive music, thereafter helped me get out of a rut. I recommend it. As soon as I began dating, I realized that I wasn't ready for what I was getting myself into. I simply wanted to fill in the blanks of my life that had been left unfilled. What do you do when you come home from work when you don't have your children? A date once inquired of me. I stumbled through my response because I didn't know what to say. I didn't have a daily schedule or any hobbies to keep me occupied. It was a difficult revelation to come to that I wouldn't even want to date myself. As a result, I started dating myself. I'm going to the movies by myself. Going for hikes and rollerblading are some of my favorite pastimes. I came up with a basic fitness plan that I could do while skipping. Observing the night sky. Audiobooks and podcasts are two of my favorite forms of entertainment. Reading. It was strange at first, but it was a huge relief when I finally felt comfortable in my own flesh. I've been able to establish new patterns of behavior in my life. To develop new traditions, habits, and celebrations that are exclusive to me and my children. While it was challenging to plan summer vacations and other events with just one parent, I managed, and these experiences became highlights for my new family as a result. I still have a functional parenting-only connection with the mother of my children. We've learned to be a little more flexible with our parenting schedules. If one of the children is missing the other parent, we arrange a phone call or even a sleepover for them. On sometimes, one parent will accompany a kid to an appointment on a day when the other parent is not available. When you look back on the previous 2 years, it's remarkable how much has happened. We handled all of the paperwork on our own, which kept legal bills to a bare minimum. And now here I am, legally separated from my husband. I'm looking forward to the rest of my life following divorce as we enter the year 2021. Now look at some comments. Wow, this is and was an amazing read for me. My wife and I are just starting the divorce process, and although I was the problem, I know I'm going to go through a lot over the next chapter in my life. I appreciate your insight and honesty. You are welcome. Honestly, it was a chapter that I never thought would end. I just had to live 3 days at a time. You have an emotional roller coaster ahead of you, but it isn't forever. Good luck. Thanks for writing this OP. I know many on this sub have been through these stages, and it's not really a linear progression. But it's very hopeful, and we need to read this in the new year. I am still stuck at the stage of I wouldn't date myself. I'm in the middle of this, and I'm not sure I'll be able to handle it. So thanks for these words. I hope you cut those mutual friends out of your life. Thank you. Wishing you the best this new year.